Okay, so to make the concrete surface that I want to use for the yards, what I'm doing first of all, you'll see these white sheets of paper I've put in, and basically these are going to be a template for me. They've been cut out and notched so that it comes through the gateway and then anything else that needs to be done. And then what I'm going to do is run a pencil mark right round the outside of the building. And what that's going to do, what I'm going to use is sandpaper, like I've done on the scratch build, but in this case here we're going to use it as our surface for the yard. So that's been drawn round, and I'll do the other side, and then once I cut out the template I'll show you what we're going to do next. With the sheet of paper transferred over onto the sandpaper, I've been able to cut out the sandpaper, and it's given me an exact replica of the little yard, and that fits snugly into place there. Now you could leave it as that and just use that as your yard, but I want to distress mine up a little bit. So for that, what we're going to do is do some random tears just at this stage in it here. And then we'll rip that off altogether. Okay, now that section goes here just as it was in the template. And then we'll tear this bit off here too, and then this little section goes in here. And because you've done out this template, you'll know exactly where in the build or on the floor it's going to go. Let me move that forward a little bit so you can see it better. And by doing that little sort of random method and then gluing it down, what you might want to do as well is to separate those out a wee bit, that there's sort of like a crack running right the way across, so you may need to trim just along the edges. But let me turn it around to the other side, and I have already put the other yard into place, and I can tilt that up so you can see it. So what that's done is created these little crack lines along what will be the cement yard. So the next thing will be to, once the glue dries on that base, is to mask off the entire wall, and then I will spray that with a coat of Halford's primer, and then we'll come back and we'll do a little bit of weathering washes on it to tone it right down to give it that sort of concrete effect. Okay, so I have the primer now added to the sandpaper, and it already looks an awful lot better. The little crack lines in the cement really do sort of show up, stand out now. But what I want to do is to try and add a little bit of tonal differences in the colour on that cement work. So we're looking at sort of, I want to soften the grey down a wee bit, but include some sort of greenness from algae, a little brown in there as well. And I'm literally using 4 colours for this. I've got black, I've got white, I've got an olive green, and a cinnamon brown. So first up, I am going to apply some of the white, and that is just to try and soften that fairly mid-grey colour of the primer. Now with this paint I am applying it quite wet. You know, it's going on in a very wet fashion. So the paintbrush is going into the paint, and then I'm dipping that paintbrush into water to really let the paint run a little bit, if you know what I mean. And I find with this here, you just have to sort of work along with it until you sort of reach a point that you're happy with the final results. Okay, so once you're happy enough with the colour, go back over it if you feel that you need to add a little bit extra. But once that's done, the last wee sort of added bit of detail that you can do is, particularly in along the cracks, with a small finish paintbrush, I'm just doing the odd wee dab of PVA glue just down along the cracks. And then we'll add some of the blended turf scatter. And if I tap that off, and bring it back in, hopefully you can see in that quite bright light there that we have. That's a little bit better. Just a little bit of added detail to that. Let me turn it around to the other yard, which is more or less complete, and it would show you hopefully a little bit better what I'm been trying to get at. So it just gives that rundown appearance. There is more bits and pieces that still need to go into these yards. I think I might look at one of the Langley kits, washing lines. I think I've previously mentioned the little washing mangle, so I'm going to build a little lean-to, I think, on this side to go into it, and then we'll try and find some wee odds and ends, brushes, bicycles, buckets, that sort of thing, just to sort of have lying about. But it certainly helps lift the scene.